All right, welcome. Let's get started. Continue our journey in Solar2D. So in this streams, we'll continue where we left off at the Star Explorer. We are here at the chapter 4 of the Getting Started tutorial. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so wow. Let's start it. So creating scenes. So a scene is an isolated view or page of the app, and everything that the player sees is contained in that scene. When an app starts, you are usually presented with a title. Yes, of course. From there, you may be able to navigate your setting and or proceed a tutorial or actually a game. So each level in a game might also be a dedicated scene depending on design goals. So this game will have 3 core scenes: the menu, the game, and the list of high score. Okay. It used the system called Composer to handle moving from scene to scene. Okay. To make development easier, each Composer scene is a separate Lua file. Okay. Yes. Finally. Files, so it keep your game more organized. In this chapter, we're going to make change to your previous code that will temporarily create error in the simulator. You can ignore the error or exit the simulator. Okay, I'm just not going to save, that's fine. So within the project folder, make a copy. All right, and mark say that as original. Okay, I can do pretty simple. So we'll need to use this original code in the next chapter, so it's important keep a copy. Okay, use that, open the Lua, in this file, erase all previous code. Okay, in this place, add the following command. All right. Okay, error, we hear that. Well, we got the error, so you can see here, right? All right, so reinspect, get the composer, hide the status bar, random seed. Okay, go to scene menu. Okay, fine. Nothing special here. You don't need. Okay, so that is a file. Okay, so now we move on to the menu scene. All right, this hide the status bar, set it up. And so now menu.lua. Again, this chapter's source file. Extract it. Oh, what's the image? The title and the back. Oh, we already have the background, right? We already have the background. So okay. All right. So we get this title when we have the screen. we suggest with our standard scene template. Okay, for this scene, you need to copy one of the additional. Okay, we copy over. Once you have a name and rename this copy to menu. So let's put this over here and paste it as the menu. So we have this new scene and scene create. Okay. So now a new syntax over here. So let's read through it. So the first line just require the module composer. The second line create a new scene. That's fine. Accessible code. Next, you will see a comment block talk about the execution of scene event. Code outside of the scene event function below will only be executed once unless the scene is removed entirely. Okay, well, because it's global, or at the top level of the script, right? Makes sense. All right, but here this is just creating two function. All right, so straightforward. All right, go to scene. Okay, let's format it a little bit. So the scene event create, show, hide, and destroy. Okay, so the create events allow you to tap in and do some initialization before the show. Okay. Oh, it actually occurred twice. Oh no. Immediately before, immediately after. Why is not 6 then? Because I need to know when which is before, which is after, so it doesn't make much sense to me. But okay, following it. Our standard template handle all 4 events, but the create event is what we focus in this scene. Further bit down in the file, inspect the following highlight code. Right, so scene group self.view says object self is the scene.view, I guess. As you recall, the keyword function tell connected to this block. However, this is slightly different. So this look like a function declaration instead of well, defining a local variable. Actually not. This is defining a function to that scene object, with usually object method, right? With a scene variable created near the top of the file. Essentially, :create indicate that this function will be associated with the composer's create scene event, and that the table of data will reference with event we pass to the function. Composer create scene event, right? Implement this, I understand. So that's an interesting way to declare it. It's kind of like in Rust, you can add additional functions to an object in the implement block. So, and this is an interesting syntax in doing that. So that's good. So this scene create function is already set up for you, but it doesn't do anything yet. Is this important line create a local reference to the scene's view group? Automatically created by composer. So the view group is created by composer. So the scene has a view, or the view group, just like in the previous one. over here we create a free group, display group, right? Is the display group and view group the same thing? Let's see. Which should contain all of the display object in this scene. So a view group, so it's not a display group, it's contain everything. Essentially, any display object which should be part of the scene must be inserted into the scene's view group. And that group is referenced by scene group inside each of the template. Okay, inside the template. Just essentially just this self.view. Following the local blah 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 blah. Enter the following highlight line into the background to the scene for this project. We simply use the same background image that we used for the actual game in the previous chapter. So this will need to load it again. In for this menu. Insert it to the scene group. Oh, so is this group can be the view group or the display group is the same thing, or maybe it's really just a group, just a table, I guess. Come right to it. So next, add the title. Okay, so also add the title. All right, at the title page, we get the image here. Yep. So finally, let's create two objects. Okay, two button. So let's take a look at that. So it's a new text, just a text. So the scene group is also in this called play. The center, the center. Yeah, nothing special really, just two text. And high score set fill color. What does the set fill color does? Is two different color? Does it start to show? Nope. So when it go to game, the last thing is simple. So when it tap, it call the go to game function and go to high score function. Okay, pretty straightforward. So this is the create, and then this is the show, hide, and destroy, and they add the scene, and this actually return it. So basically the whole thing, just like export in JavaScript, right? So this the scene add handler. So this is doing that for automatically. So the scene calling the event handler for create, and it will pass this scene object. And this scene object actually interesting. Let's take a look at the original. So add event handler. So this is touch, and then this is drag shape, and there's no object method and things like that. So it again do a special thing. So my guess is this means if I write something like this, this might work. Let's say removing this, and things like that might work. So that's definitely something interesting to check out. Tapping the function will now result in error, of course, the game lure and the high score. If this doesn't work as expected, it's compare blah blah blah, create a function. Does it show? Launch. Okay, there you go. Right. So this does show now, and yeah, there's a slight difference in the color. So say 0.2, yep, that changes the color. Right, so that's the menu. Right. So in the last chapter, we learned the basics of scene management. In this chapter, we're going to convert the original game into the game Lua. As you learned in the previous chapter, there are dedicated piece of composer-enabled Lua file to put different aspects of your game. In the original version of Star Explorer, we have the luxury of writing our code in linear order, for example, creating an object and blah. Composer require you to think a little bit differently. Using it correctly require you consider scene lifecycle function. Okay, this for function makes sense. And that you run command depend on whether scene is on screen or off screen. Consider this concept of movie scene. Okay, blah is very simple, straightforward. The question though is about that two the calling choice for the show and high. We'll definitely hopefully it will talk about it. So let's get started. The first point of attack is the scene accessible area of the file. What does it mean by first point of attack? Make a copy of that. Okay. Okay, make a copy and rename it to game. Fine. And open both, and then yeah, you can copy. See, will this work? So we have game here and then original here. Okay, like that. Okay, so physical setup. Since the game will obviously utilize the physics engine, there's no reason to defer that setup until later. Copy your physics setup command from there and place in immediately following initialization. So place it over here. Or it can be done during create, but maybe it doesn't do anything, so that's okay. We don't have to do the random seed because yeah, it describe it because in the main we already did that, and also the high status bar thing, right? Did we hide it over here? Yeah, here, right? It's not needed as expected. Nothing to see here. And then we will get the scene, the sheet option, all that. We can also just create it. Is oh, I see. Yeah, so because the scene can be reused and recreate, I guess. So putting it over here, maybe it will really only initiate once, while this, it can happen multiple times. So you click on start, it goes to game, it ends, and then start again. So at that time, you know, this is not being called. So that's why putting this outside is more efficient. So, okay, makes sense. Okay, initial values, yeah, the same thing. So we'll see. Well, copy it over. And then the display group. In our original version, we create 3 display group sorting and layer, or that we're still going to use them, but a small modification. In the last chapter, we'll learn how to insert scene objects in the scene's view. Now, an important concept to understand that display group can actually be inserted to other display groups. As such, we can maintain the free display group from the original game and instill them into the scene's view group. To facilitate this, we defer the actual creation of a free group until we create the scene. However, we still need to define the variable now using for declaration. So on this level, it makes sense, at least for now, because well, this variable need to share by different functions, right? So putting that over there is fine. So let's create this. In our original version, we create the background, shape, live, and order immediate for the display group. Now, because we're only creating local reference, we must defer later, of course, during the create. As we continue past this point, we come to the local function of a game call functionality. Right, so we will put this update text over there. Basically, all the helper functions or the game logic functions. On this, we'll create a create asteroid. Well, we're just going to copy over, and then also the file laser. Right, so that we now observe the line directly following the line laser we add. Of course, this need to be delayed. This create an event listener for ship, but we haven't created ship yet. We must defer. Okay, as we copy it, we skip over. Okay, yes, I know. Nothing special. Essentially, it looks like that. Yes, we can skip. Create this scene. Now we need to actually create a scene. So okay. From the menu scene from previous chapter, we create a background title and 2 buttons with the scene create. Correct. What happened here? Okay. In the scene create, and then for this scene, we will create a background shape and the 2 text object. In addition, it will pause the scene engine. We will pause the physics engine and actually create the free display group required for layering our object. So one thing though, so you start it here. Well, maybe you don't have to start, but anyway, let's follow the example. Okay, so over here, say physics dot pause, right? So pause that. What is the purpose of the command at this point in the scene's life cycle? Remember that our game scene isn't truly on screen at this point, and because we don't want the game to start quite right, we will immediately pause the physics engine. This allows us to create objects and doing all that, but won't affect physically until we restart the game engine. So over here in the original code, this in the previous video, this physics start and then it go ahead and do a create. It doesn't have any problem. So I guess it's actually doesn't really matter. But my guess is the call to resume is called resume. So that's why you have to start and pause and resume. Probably that's why. Well, that's my guess. We'll see. Next, we need to create free display groups. All right, and display and insert them. All right, so over here we just created them, but this also need to insert. So as described by here, probably somewhere over here. Yep, display group can actually insert into other display groups. So that tells me that the scenes view, this scenes group is also a display group, whatever that type is, right? So just insert. Although I will still have problem with when to use dot and when to use colon. All right, but let's continue. Here, in addition, we inserted, yes, makes sense. As you recall, most Corona display object API accept a valid display group variable as a convenient inline shortcut for inserting the object into that group. However, display new group is one of the exceptions to this shortcut. You can't simply supply an inline group reference to insert the new display group into the existing group. You must use the object insert. Why? Most accepted. Let's read it again. As you recall, most Corona, or meaning Solar2D, display object API accept a valid display group variable as a convenient inline shortcut for inserting the object into that group. However, display new group is one of the exceptions to this shortcut. You can't simply add an inline group reference. Does it mean putting display new group over here? Not really sure what it means. Not really sure what this means. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, this create a group and that's it. It doesn't talk about other things. So let's move on. This is something that's still not very clear. All right, with the group in place, let's create the background. And then create all this, right? So okay. It create a background. The same thing happens again. It's the same code essentially. If you insert the scene accessible code, if you inspect the scene accessible code area near the top of game.lua, you will notice we did not include a forward reference of background while local background. This is because once we create the insert background to the scene, we will never need to access it elsewhere. We simply make it local. Well, okay. Yeah, because we don't interact with it. That's why. That's fine. Unlike the background, we create those three objects where we declare above because we need to work with it. That's fine. In the actual object to reference them inside the same function, other function or associated reference related. Yes, of course, basic scope. Nothing to see there. Notice we still insert an object into the proper display group, back group, main group, and UI group. This is correct procedure because all of those groups are inserted into scenes view group and they are now children of the parent group. Yes. Pretty simple. Moving forward, remember we defer adding the tabs and touch event. Now we can add them back in. Yes, I get what you try to say. That's it. Our initial this is good. So showing the scene. In the menu, we didn't need to use the show nor its companion hide, but this game scene we do. At this point, there are still some essential aspects which we haven't copied over the original. We haven't yet enabled collision detection or start game loop to spawn asteroid. The show would do that. While we didn't utilize one for the menu scene, the go to scene command allows you to specify a transition effect such as fading, sliding in. Okay. Naturally, there's a time duration associated with start and finish of scene transition. This is where scene phases come into play. Okay, so the show start and end, I guess. Let's see. An important factor to understand the show is called choice. Yes, of course it's imperative to know when of this call occurs so that we can take proper action at proper time. This distinction is provided while event phase within scene show. So the first call occurs when it's ready to be shown, essentially after every command within create has been executed. Okay, in this case is will show and did show. So component will mount, component did mount. Well, not exactly, but same thing. Right, so let's go here. Yeah, that's what the will and did. Yeah. Now that you understand this concept, simply place the code. I'm just going to place the code. Oh, it start. Then really it makes no sense to not stop the, why do we need to start the engine over here? Anyway, reset the engine with start. Remember to pause and create. Yes, start add the collision handler and start the game loop. Let's check the result. Let's play. Oh, something went wrong. Add event listener cannot be new. Did I miss something? On collision, yes, on collision is not being implemented, not being copied. So on collision, drag shape game loop on collision here. This function, this whole function need to go in here. Okay. Oh, what else? Still. Drag shape. Oh, drag shape is not also not there. All this property is not there. Right. Minimize. Update text file laser. Restore shape, drag shape is all not there. And also the game loop is not there. Drag shape. File laser. Okay, there you go. All right. Okay, is working. All right. Go back here. So tap and play, and it's correctly it show up. Okay. So at this point, there's significant flaw in the game. When the player runs out of life, it will continue to build up. There's no way to restart the game. Yes, when we intend to exit the game scene, remember the game loop timer still be running, spawning asteroids and removing off-screen asteroid. In addition, the P6 game engine will still moving asteroid about. All of these things should be stopped inside the scene high, okay? So the scene high will be called choice. So there is two calls. So let's expand it. So will and did, same thing. So when it will stop, it will stop. Let's see, it will stop. It will stop the game loop. And then once it is done, it will stop the handler. What is the reason? Let's see. This command essentially reverse what it did, stop the game loop and stop the collision and pause. Note that we intentionally using both phases. The first command can occur before the skin begin to high, since we don't need to generate new asteroid once the game is over. For the other two commands, we can defer until fully off the screen. We don't want the remaining asteroid to suddenly stop detecting collision or stop moving. Okay, so say for example there is a screen transition. We want the new the game loop to stop so that it will stop generating more asteroid, but it will still continue to move. No, it won't, right? Because the game loop no, the game loop is just doing off-screen removal. I don't know why it does that. Why it's separated too? Because this is mixing. Well, it mixing the two things together to begin with. Right. Well, but in a sense, this take care of the create and this take care of remove, right? So when the screen will end, it stop creating and stop removing. But the asteroids, the asteroids that being created is still moving by itself, right? So it's still doing this based on the physics engine. Based on this, the physics engine is still running. So it will still do that, and then it will also random. Right, it will set this linear velocity, so it will still keep moving. So in a sense, if you stop the game loop, well, it will move indefinitely. It keep going. Say it go out of screen, it will continue out of screen. No new asteroid is created. So your memory consumption is still fixed. It doesn't reduce, but it's fixed. And even when it go out of screen, it didn't get destroyed. But quote unquote, that is okay. So that's why I feel like this is a bit weird. And once it's actually there, then you can just stop everything. Okay. So event link up. Our scene high function is now complete, but we need to take a few final steps to make sure it actually get called. Logically, a scene will never hidden unless you intentionally call it to high, so that you need to change the game loop. Okay, makes sense. Of course. And this occurs when you tell composer to go to a different scene. In our game, we want to return to the menu or eventually go to the high score scene when the player dies and has no remaining lives. This condition has already been accounted for partially in our previous code, so we need to add additional command in the same place in the on collision. On collision, where is on collision? What? Oh, you cannot find. Oh, I was doing this. Okay, I was using a regular expression. But why it doesn't match? Match whole word. Yeah, that's what I. Not regular expression. Okay, so over here when it's life is 0, right? And then when life is 0, then okay, it just wait for 2 seconds and then end game. Okay, and then we add an endgame function at the top property. Well, right now just put somewhere over here. So go to the menu screen, and the transition will take 0.8 seconds, and then we the effect is crossfade. Okay. So yeah, wait for 2 seconds. So this time we're including an additional optional table containing params for the scene transition effect. Inside this table, we specify the time, 0.8, effect, crossfade. Well, nothing new than compared to what I just said. All right. So hopefully player will want to play the game again. By default, composer caches scenes in memory. So it caches them in memory to save processing power when the scene is revisited. So even though it's hidden at this point, your game scene will remain basically where you left it. If you play the game again, the scene comes back into view and new asteroid begins spawning. Unfortunately, there are some problems. The asteroid from the previous game still in the scene. Yes, your previous score will appear, still appear, life remain as 0. Is it? Because it's set up here. Oh, well, we can, yeah, well, it is set up here. We can always initialize it. Set it initialize during create, then we don't have that problem. But at the same time, since it will be saved in memory, I think this is talk about removing it to save memories. So depends on the game. Clean up a scene to start fresh can involve some effort. In this game, we need to undo some things we didn't create, as well as remove the reference to old asteroids containing that. We will also need to reset score, life, and visibility within the show. None of this is exceptionally complicated. It wouldn't be convenient to have an easy array and just remove, okay? It's just destroy. By doing so, you lose the cache benefit, but it's nothing worth caching, okay? All right. So in the high function or the high event, when it did, here it will say composer remove scene and game. Should we cycle? Okay, don't know. So this, hold on a second. Yeah, I am using this one, but it's still adding the semicolon. Oh wow. All right. Earlier in this chapter, you learned about scene transition where we all effects. We already applied one to the composer go to scene command within the endgame function. So let's apply one when the game scenes come into view. Okay. So we changing the menu. Changing the menu here. Oh no, not the menu. Go to game. Oh, from the main and from the main go to the menu and then menu go to game. Yes. Yeah. Right. So we do the crossfade, go to game function, add a crossfade, do the same thing basically. We haven't created yet. Also appear also change that. Okay. Okay, if you say so. All right. So just doing that. Great. So that complete this chapter 5. The high score, let's see, I guess it should be pretty quick. How many chapters we have? 6 sound and deployment. Yeah. Let's continue. I think we were able to finish this. So let's go. So implementing high score. In this chapter, we'll create a scene to display 10 highest score of the game and explore how to save this score in persistent location. Okay, saving data. For the most part, when used, composer scene remains self-contained, meaning those variable objects which you create with a scene are isolated. Okay, fine. So we need to send it over or something like that. This is generally good for keeping an app clean and organized, but sometimes you need to access variable in one scene from a different scene that's inherently unaware of their existence. Well, or I would say there's a game logic that you interact with, which interact with the other with each scene, right? Separation of concern. But for example, let's keep going. So it's generally good to keep it clean and blah blah blah. Yeah. Player score and scores itself provide various way to pass value access data between module, but composer make it even easier with the following. So that's a global variable essentially. Okay, so among with this in the endgame function, so go to the game, when it ends it set the score, so when it will end, I guess, or when inside the endgames. Yeah. Right, so oh, instead of going to menu, it go to high score. Okay. All right. So final score, set a score, go to scene high score with the crossfade. Okay. So just set a global variable. You can pass any standard Lua variable type, including tables, as a value because, okay, well, it's in memory, it's not saving it any consistent sort, but even if it is, as long as it's serializable, right? Doesn't really matter. You can even use it to make local function. You can even use it to make a local function from a scene accessible within another, meaning yeah, it's in memory. So definitely it's not about serializable or not. It's just really a memory, in memory global store, kind of like the global store that I wrote. So you can pass functions. Function, that's a good thing. Function are first class citizens in Lua, and so you can pass them over. Well, as expect. Well, not really say as expected because we haven't really see callback. Oh, well, kind of we did. This drag ship. This is a function passing the function directly to the event listener. On the other one, this is passing the passing an quote unquote object or something like an object over and then doing some interesting mapping thing. All right, let's go back here. So we have the scene template. Let's copy it and make it high scores. All right, so doing this. Oh, we are persisting it JSON. Okay, so I think now we don't need this. Okay, so this use the JSON modules, get a score table and then score JSON. Simple enough. Document directory. We're saved to the document directory. Let me see. Actually, let me take a look at it off the screen. Yeah. Yeah, none of these are interesting. Come on. Recap. Go away. All right. So we get the JSON library, JSON encode decode. Okay, nothing special. Finally, get a line. Get a file path. Path for file. Okay. You might wonder why we are creating a file to store high score data. Why not just store them local? Come on. Yes, at some point after the quick and close, all right, you just need to precise it, of course, right? So all right, put this over there. Load high score. So you get the file path, read IO open, read the file. If the file is there, then how about else? So okay, this is just getting the file handler. Okay. So so this read with the $A. Don't know what it means yet. So read the content and JSON decode. So that's straightforward enough. If it's null or the number of score table is 0, it will initialize it. Actually, this is not. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, fine. Well, why do you need to do this? Kind of some interesting programming here. Why I'm saying that is based on this line, it seems to me it allows you to save the score without storing or 10, and it will able to keep the remaining as 0 when you're displaying it. But then why are you initializing with all zeros? So I don't know. All right, so let's take a look. So this try to open. In this command, we also note the second tell it to read. Okay, that's fine. In the conditional part, if it exists, it's trying to read. Will be dumped into the variable. Once we have its content, we close. And then use the command to decode. Basically, we'll load it. It doesn't talk about this. what does that mean? Probably that I need to look at the actual Lua documentation. I guess this is Lua stuff. But again, why one is io.open, one is file :read? Oh well, we see. Okay, so in the final conditional block, just in case it's empty or doesn't exist, we sign or default to 0. If you want to make things more interesting, okay. Yeah. Well, and you want to have a name or something like that, right? So, saving data just as easy. Okay, save the score, copy and paste. That's how you save the score. Oh no, copy and paste. So save the score. Table.remove. You have to create it one by one. What? What? Remove? Remove everything? What do you mean? We first clear out any unneeded score because we want to save the highest 10 score. Anything beyond that, oh, length to 11. Interesting logic. Okay. Okay. Next we open the score file, and let's open, we'll do a Y W. That's fine. Serialize it, closing. Okay, encode it, write and close. Simple enough. Displaying high score. Before we show the score to the player, we need to manipulate the score table slightly. Specifically, need to add the most recent score. So all of the work can be done in the create. Okay, there's something over there. This is load, that's fine. Next, let's insert player's most recent score into the score table. Well, as a tutorial and example, this is okay, but well, no, it shouldn't really be done there. It should be done at the game logic level. The high score probably really shouldn't do that. That's okay. So when the scene is created, it will load the score and insert the table. That's why you need to look at the 11 and do that. Well, get variable, that's fine. Put it inside the score table, set and then set it 0. You don't need that. Well, correct. You need that. You need that because precisely the code is here. That's why you need that, right? If this code, the insert is done at the game scene, or that in the game logic, you don't need that, because the reason you need this is when the menu first show up, right? Let's bring this up. You have this high score, so when you click on it, this will show and it will try to do an insert. So if you don't clear it, if you play a game before and go to the menu and then go back to the high score multiple times, it will add the high score multiple times. Although here they will still add it no matter what, but hopefully it would, the logic is when it's 0 is the lowest one, the first one to get torn out in this code. This problem. All right. Okay. At this point, we don't know we will go rank higher score, so we need to do some sorting. Makes sense. And we can do an enormous function over here, supposedly. So, and then we save the score from here. Save the score. Yeah, because this whole function shouldn't be here. That's okay. Following, let's create a scene background and text. Copy. That's fine. So get the background. We use the same background. Set it the background, and set the high score, and then high score, and then start printing. And then start printing. I will actually, I should just really copy whole thing. Right. So for 1 to 10, do for this do, and over here for 1 to 10 do, and if it's greater than 0, then you increment it, and then create a text, putting number 1, have a closing paren, and where's the value? Oh, it put in a different color. What is this anchor? The position? Anchor 1, anchor 0. So let's see. Yeah. Most of the alignment, I see. Okay, that's something need to take a look at. So most of the code about should be straightforward, but in anchors, we introduce a new concept in anchors. By default, position center. Okay. However, sometimes you need to align object on the edges. Okay, so accomplish this, we notice that we set the anchor of each object. So this typically range from 0 with left and right, 1 to the right, with a default endpoint 5. Okay, since we want each rank number to be rightly aligned, so we set it to 1 and set the other to 0. And then over here is the center of the screen minus 50, and this is center of the screen minus 30. So there's a 20 pixels between the two, and this is aligned to the right and that is aligned to the left. That's what it is. So it is straightforward. So there's also anchor Y, makes sense. And then anchors and set even outside of 0 to 1 is less common. Setting either anchor X or Y to less than 1 or greater will place an anchor point conceptually somewhere in the space outside, which is useful in some instance, of course, when you're spinning the object. That's when it's useful. Finally, let's create a button to go back to the menu. All right. Okay. Simple enough. So this call go to menu. You need to write the go to menu. Yeah. All right. So similar to that, and when it high, it kill itself, remove itself over here. All right, so let's take a look. So the high score is all 0. So faster, faster, faster. Hey, come here, come here. I want to die. Dying once. Dying twice. And done. Right. Oh. Oh. Didn't save. Damn it. Let's go. But I want to die. Come on. Once. I should have set the life to 1. So I can die quicker. All right. There you go. All right. So, and then even if I save it and refresh it, it's still there. And the file, let's see, the file, where does it save? Because supposedly it goes to the document folder, so I'm not going to show it, but let me see. I don't see where it gets saved. Interesting. I don't know where they get saved. But finding that out should be straightforward. So let me go to the high score. This file path. And then when it creates this, there you go. Oh, it's in some sandbox, Star Explorer Simulator sandbox, somewhere, something like that. Right, too long to see, but it's okay. All right, so that concludes this high score thing, right? So let's take a look over here. So it still is a we know about these configurations, and then now finally we can put it into multiple files, although right now it's still grouped by this, used by this composer. So to organize that into really Lua file separating concern properly, need to use Lua syntax instead of doing this. This is inside composer. So, but that we'll look at that after we complete the all of the getting start chapters. All right, the next one, it will be sound and music, and well, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one. Bye bye.